All right, I'm currently on the line with Drexler John. He's another musician that reached out about the interview session. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
So, hi everybody. Good day or good evening, wherever you are. I'm Drexler John. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm a producer. I'm a mixing and mastering engineer. I'm also a performer. I've released 5 albums, and currently I'm working on my sixth one. So, I consider myself more on a Christian narrative artist, not Christian worship. Christian narrative meaning writing about the most unpleasant parts of the Christian faith, and my goal is to use the talents God has given me to spread the gospel and to help other people and other artists.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and talk about how this all started for you. Tell me about what the environment was like when you were growing up that kind of found you pursuing this in your life.
Right, because so I was born in the Philippines, right, and my father, he is a big music fan, right, from 50s to 90s, you name it. He loved that type of music, and particularly, what struck me the most out of all his influences was the Beatles. So when I was 5 years old, he would be playing a lot of Beatles songs in the car, or probably he'd have a DVD collection of the Beatles, and I guess it really took a toll on me. Like I was like, oh wow, these guys are great. I love the image. Now, at around that age, let's say age 4 or 5, I was also exposed to performing. I performed at my auntie's wedding, but I didn't exactly like it. I was just forced to do it. Age 6 or 7, I was forced to join a talent show at school. They needed a representative, so I sang in front of the stage. And I did grow up being a theater kid, so I did performances and I enjoyed that. But it wasn't until the age of 11 when I started really getting into the whole music thing, and I realized it's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Originally, I wanted to have a band like the Beatles, right? Have maybe 3 or 4 people. Um, but I decided to study everything about them in the sense of musicality. How would you write the songs? How would you produce the songs? How would George Martin produce the songs? How do they play the instruments? And because of that progression, I was able to apply it eventually to my own music. So, my family, especially my dad, is a very musical person, and using all the influences he's bestowed upon me, I was able to eventually start writing my own music at age 17, and yeah, the rest is history with 5 albums and a sixth one coming.
Well, that's very cool. Let's kind of back up a little bit. Tell me about learning how to play an instrument. Did you learn from your father? Did you take primary or private lessons? Tell me about that process and how you connected with that.
Right. So, there was one time when I was really young. Let's say I was age 8, when my father tried to show me how to play the A chord in the guitar, and I just wouldn't get it. I wasn't so interested at it, right? Um, Prior to that, it was just all singing, no instruments. I think I mentioned age 11. At age 11, I started to pick up the guitar because of the Beatles instrumentation. So I'm a self-taught guitarist. What I would do is I would look for isolated tracks of the Beatles, and then I would try to mimic how it would sound in the guitar. And then I would try to also look for, let's say, in the internet, tutorials about how to play the song. And then I would compare and contrast these tutorials so I could get closely to the original, right? So it was more of a sense of being self-taught with trial and error. And then at the same time, my dad had these chord books that show the chords of the Beatles songs. And then I would try to, let's say, play it. For example, let's say I knew how to play the D chord. So, and then it says in the chord chart D, so I'll try to strum D. So it was really a matter of experience and really just going to different online lessons, um, and isolated tracks. There wasn't really any formal training. Even until now, really, when I write my songs, I don't know much music theory. I don't know any music theory really. I just do it by ear as I always do. So yeah,
Okay,
and
so you
then
spent a lot of time kind of playing along with your favorite songs and learning writing that way.
right, yes, that's basically how it is. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the next step to that, tell me that process of once you kind of felt comfortable to the point where you wanted to begin writing your own stuff. stuff. How did you kind of identify the type of stuff that you wanted to write? Did you kind of just feel an emotional fit to a piece of music, or did you have an overarching kind of topic and narrative that you wanted to write about?
So the one thing I love about since my influence is mainly 60s, I love the fact that songs back then spoke their minds about society, love, peace, anything about advocacy. So I said to myself, I always want to write something with meaning. Even if it's a simple topic, I wanted to have a philosophical or impactful meaning. So that's already our lyrics. There's always something there, especially in the early days. Now, since I was very Beatle influenced, I would always think, how would John and Paul do this? Since John and Paul are a team, I would try to apply what they would do. Not in the sense that I got to copy how She Loves You was written or I Want to Hold Your Hand, but rather, where's that strong sense of melody? And in the beginning days, since I mentioned lyrical wise, I was more in advocacy, I started with the lyrics first. And then I would do the melody afterwards, adjusting that. So that's really how it worked for me during the early days of the early albums and the early days of writing. As time went by, it just became spontaneous where I would write about just anything I feel naturally, thinking that if I felt this way, other people could also feel this way, so they could empathize with me in the songs I wrote. So yeah, that's basically how it is. More an instinct, if that makes sense, natural instinct.
Yeah, that's great. I believe another thing that you're attempting to kind of say there is you just wanted to connect to people's heartstrings and make them kind of feel what you were feeling.
That's the most important thing, and that's why I really wanted to get into music, to really understand, to let people know that, hey, you're not alone. I'm here, right? So yeah.
Definitely. Okay. So let's talk about the next step to that. Once you kind of got comfortable writing and started creating your own material, did you have like concepts and stuff for collections of songs that you wanted to build into albums, or how do you approach writing an album in general?
Oh, that's cool. So sometimes it's really random. Okay, so sometimes, let's say for the first record, the only goal for the first record, Child of Love, first album, was for me to release all the songs I've written. That's it. Basically, I'm like, we have songs, let's just release them regardless of whatever mentality. So I released them. For the second and I guess up to the fifth album, there was this mentality of a theme, right? The second one had that sort of sense where I was a bit melancholic. So the melancholicness kind of applied to the album. The third one, I was thinking something psychedelic. So definitely there are times that I would think of a theme, but my goal always was that each song in the album will not sound the same like the other. As much as there is a theme of psychedelicness, for example, in number three, I want song number one and song number two and number three to have each of a different vibe, just like how the Beatles would do it, right? So I guess it really is random. For number six, for example, the thing I'm working on right now, I promised myself I don't want to stick to one genre. The goal of number six is, as long as the song sounds good, in my point of view, then we're good. That's it. Doesn't matter if we're gonna put metal or what. It sounds good in my point of view. That's it. So yeah.
Awesome. That's great. So tell me about this collection of songs that you're saying can encompass all genres of music. How do you think you're approaching the writing style? Is it something beyond just sounding good, or is there a specific kind of narrative message that you're trying to put into it?
Yeah, so that's amazing because, like, for example, in this sixth one, like specifically the sixth one, because this is the one where it's really free verse. Writing the songs, there are happy songs, there are sad songs, there are angry songs. So there's the variation of subject already, right? The essence of Christian narrative is still there, but the variation of feelings of pessimism and optimism are present. Now, with regards to arranging the songs to the instrumentation, usually I do it on the fly. For example, usually what I do is I would write the songs first. Let's say I'm targeting 11 to 12 songs and they're all written down, acoustic demos. I would then go to my DAW, Logic Pro, and then I would start conceptualizing. Okay, does this track need acoustic guitar? Does it need electric guitar? After we add that, what bass do we use? Electronic bass? Is it synth bass? So I guess for number six, my goal would really be just go all out, like literally try to put two and two instruments that don't seem to make sense blend. You know what I mean? And so it's really random, but I guess it'll now depend on how strong the melody and lyrics are, if people also like my concept and my vision for what's coming.
Okay, perfect. And then let's talk about what comes next. What do you kind of see for yourself after this album comes out? Are you going to focus on doing shows, or do you think you'll just immediately start writing the next one?
Right. Writing these albums, I admit it's a little bit tiring because I stay at home and then, you do the work at the studio. I do everything from the writing, the singing, the playing the instruments, the production mixing, and even the promoting. I do shows occasionally as well in my city, right? So after this whole record, God willing, maybe have an album release party, and I want to be able to teach other artists or singers or whoever about the knowledge I have. To share the knowledge I have to be able to help them, inspire them to be able to also release their own material. That's what I'm sort of seeing. And then eventually also produce and mix music for other artists. Really, it's more on the altruistic perspective that I'm aiming for, perhaps after number six. So yeah, that's basically it. Shows are good, but to be able to help other artists is a priority in my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of focus more in the vein of doing studio work than actually like performance work.
Yes, I mean I have performed around the city, right? At this point, but definitely I want to be able to establish my rapport with the albums, right? As we go on with the live performance. So regardless, I've done both, be it in band or solo. But yeah, really, majority, especially here in America, when I got here, majority of my practice was really in the studio. So yeah.
Okay. So tell me about some of your favorite moments that you have of being a part of music. Was it writing your stuff or working with other musicians, or how do you kind of feel that you've been motivated by your experiences?
Right. So I guess with me, sometimes it's after the whole thing is released. That's when you really realize the amazing impact of the stuff that you write. For example, let's say I write a song and I would have an acoustic demo. And this is my feeling all the time. I record the demo and then I record it in the studio, adding the instruments, and then I would compare and contrast. I would compare the final product with the demo. And then I realized, oh my gosh, how were we able to do that? I never expected that this demo would turn into A or B. I guess that's one of my favorite things about music when I get to compare the final product and the demo tracks. It's also lovely for me to work with other artists in the sense of they will show me what they got and then I will share my ideas. For example, a friend of mine was had this concept for a song or an album, and I told him this would be a good single. You could add lyrics to this to A and B. Really, to me, it's the process. That's the most amazing thing. The process of how you make a record or an album. There was one time I was recording a guitar. One of my favorite times is I was recording a guitar solo for one of my songs in the fifth album, and the string broke. And I decided, a string of my guitar broke, and I decided, let's not replace the string so that the sound of the guitar will be unique. And it worked out fine. So I call them happy little accidents at times. So those are really the best moments, the process of creating something.
Yeah, that's cool. I totally agree. Like being in the studio and doing work and recording, little quirks come out in that process that can really shine a light on a song and make them different than what you originally like conceptualized for them.
Very, very true. Often some mistakes just add charm to the song. So yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, where can people check out your stuff and follow along with your albums you're putting out, and then check out your sixth album when it comes out?
Right. So my artist name is Drexler John. It's Drexler space John John, and my music is available in Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, wherever you listen to music. It's available. You can stream it anywhere. Um, so my I guess for social media, I have a Facebook page. It's Drexler John, same spelling, and my Instagram is Christian Musician _ So yeah.
All right, that's great. And I'll make sure that stuff gets tagged and stuff when the interview comes out. But I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So what is the message that you have that you want to share with other people?
Right. So first thing is salvation is found in Jesus Christ. So seek him and get saved, repent of any sins. And for anyone out there, if you have a gift of music or dance or art or whatsoever, do not be shy to be able to share that with the world. You never know the amount of people who need to see you perform, to hear you sing. You'll never know the impact you have. So find Christ and be bold in the gifts he's given you. So yeah.